Ethan's heart thundered as he sprinted through the sunlit streets of Santa Clara, the ocean's roar echoing his desperation. He could still see Liam's smile from last night, warm, unguarded, the kind that made Ethan's world tilt. Today, that smile belonged to someone else, and Ethan was about to ruin everything. The church loomed ahead, its white steeple piercing the California sky. Ethan's sneakers skidded on the cobblestone path, his breath ragged. He wasn't supposed to be here, not like this, not with his chest burning from a truth he'd buried for a decade. Liam, his best friend since they were scrappy kids stealing ice cream from the boardwalk, was about to marry Sophia. And Ethan couldn't let it happen without saying the words he'd choked on for years. He burst through the oak doors, the organ's melody halting mid-note. Heads turned, gasps rippling through the pews. Liam stood at the altar, golden hair catching the stained glass light, his blue eyes wide with shock. Sophia, radiant in her lace gown, froze beside him, her bouquet trembling. Ethan's voice cracked as he shouted, "Liam, wait. I need to tell you something." The silence was deafening. Every eye in the church bore into him, friends, family, strangers. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears, but he couldn't back down now. "I'm in love with you," he said, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. "I've always been in love with you." A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. Liam's face drained of color, his mouth parting as if to speak. But no sound came. Sophia's eyes darted between them, her expression a mix of confusion and dawning realization. Ethan's legs felt like they might give out, but he pressed on, his voice shaking. "I know this is the worst possible moment, but I couldn't let you marry her without knowing. I've been a coward, Liam, but I can't keep pretending." The crowd erupted into whispers, but Ethan only saw Liam. His best friend, the boy who'd taught him how to surf at 16, who'd stayed up with him through countless nights sketching dreams under the stars, now looked at him like a stranger. Ethan's heart sank. Had he just destroyed everything? Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Ethan, what are you saying?" Her tone wasn't angry, but searching, as if she'd sensed something amiss all along. Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. "I'm gay, Sophia. And I've loved Liam since we were kids. I tried to bury it, to be happy for you both, but I can't. Not anymore." Liam's mother, Margaret, rose from the front pew, her face a mask of disapproval. "This is nonsense," she snapped, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Ethan, you're confused. You're ruining a sacred moment." But Liam raised a hand, silencing her. His eyes locked onto Ethan's, and for a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. "Ethan," Liam said, his voice barely above a whisper, "why didn't you tell me?" The question hung heavy, laced with pain and something else, something Ethan couldn't name. Before he could answer, an older man in the back row stood, his weathered face pale. It was Liam's father, Robert, a man Ethan had known his whole life but rarely seen rattled. "Enough," Robert said, his voice trembling. "There's something you both need to know." The church fell silent again, every eye now on Robert. Ethan's stomach churned. What could possibly follow his confession? Robert's gaze flickered to Liam, then to Ethan, and finally to Margaret, whose hands clenched her purse like a lifeline. "This isn't just about you two," Robert said. "There's a reason Ethan feels this way, and it's time the truth came out." Ethan's mind reeled. A reason? He'd spent years wrestling with his feelings, convincing himself they were one-sided, a fluke of his heart. What could Robert mean? Liam stepped down from the altar, his expression torn between confusion and urgency. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Robert hesitated, his eyes glistening. "Ethan, you're not just Liam's friend. You're your family. More than you know." The words hit Ethan like a tidal wave, and the church seemed to spin. Family. He and Liam had grown up like brothers. But this was something else, something deeper, something hidden. Margaret's face crumpled, and she sank back into the pew, covering her mouth. Robert continued, his voice heavy with regret. "When you were born, Ethan, your mother, she wasn't just a friend of the family. She was my sister. Your father, Ethan, he left before you were born, and Margaret and I took you in. We raised you as our own, but we never told you or Liam that you're his cousin." Ethan's knees buckled, and he grabbed the edge of a pew to steady himself. Cousin. The word echoed in his mind, rewriting every memory he had of Liam. The summers spent building sandcastles, the late-night talks about their futures. The way Liam's laugh made Ethan's heart race. It all felt tainted now, tangled in a secret that changed everything. Liam looked as if he'd been struck. "Why didn't you tell us?" he demanded, his voice breaking. Robert shook his head, his eyes fixed on the floor. "We thought it was better this way. Your mother and I, we wanted to protect you both. But seeing you now, Ethan, I realize we were wrong to keep it from you." Sophia, still standing at the altar, spoke softly. "Ethan, I had no idea. None of us did." Her kindness only made Ethan's chest ache more. He'd come here to stop a wedding, to confess a love he thought was forbidden, only to uncover a truth that made it even more impossible. Liam took a step toward Ethan, his eyes searching. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice raw. "You felt this way all this time?" Ethan nodded, tears spilling down his cheeks. "I didn't know about this," he said, gesturing vaguely at Robert. "I just knew I loved you. And I couldn't let you go without telling you." The crowd was a blur now, their whispers fading into the background. Liam's face softened, and for a moment, Ethan thought he saw a flicker of something regret, maybe, or understanding. But before Liam could speak, Margaret stood again, her voice sharp. "This is enough. Liam, you're marrying Sophia. This confusion ends now." Ethan's heart sank. He'd bared his soul, unraveled a family secret, and still, it wasn't enough. But Liam didn't move. He stood frozen, his gaze locked on Ethan, as if weighing a decision that could change everything. The church felt like a pressure cooker, every breath heavy with unspoken truths. Ethan stood rooted to the spot, his confession still ringing in his ears, while Liam's gaze held him captive. The weight of Robert's revelation that Ethan was Liam's cousin pressed down like a storm cloud, threatening to drown them all. Liam's voice broke the silence, low and unsteady. "Mom, stop." He turned to Margaret, his jaw tight. "This isn't just about the wedding. This is about us, me, Ethan, our family. We need to talk about this." Margaret's lips parted, but no words came. For the first time, Ethan saw her falter, her ironclad composure cracking. Sophia, still clutching her bouquet, stepped closer to Liam. "You need to figure this out," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "I love you, Liam, but I won't marry someone who's carrying this much unresolved." She glanced at Ethan, her eyes soft with empathy. "I'll give you space. All of you." With that, she walked down the aisle, her gown trailing behind her, leaving a stunned congregation in her wake. Ethan's chest tightened. Sophia's grace only deepened his guilt. He hadn't meant to hurt her, but his love for Liam had been a wildfire, impossible to contain. Now, with the truth about their family laid bare, he didn't know where to begin untangling the mess. Liam grabbed Ethan's arm, his grip firm but not unkind. "Come with me," he said, his voice urgent. He led Ethan out of the church, past the murmuring crowd, into the salty air of the coastal afternoon. The sun was high, glinting off the Pacific, but the warmth did nothing to ease the chill in Ethan's bones. They stopped at the edge of the town square, where the wedding decorations, white roses and fairy lights, swayed in the breeze. Liam let go of Ethan's arm and ran a hand through his hair, his face a storm of emotions. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, his voice thick. "All these years, Ethan. All those moments we shared, you were carrying this alone." Ethan's throat burned. "I was scared," he admitted. "You were my best friend. I didn't want to lose you. And then you met Sophia, and I thought I could let you go." He laughed bitterly, wiping his eyes. "Turns out I'm not that strong." Liam's expression softened, and he took a step closer. "You're not weak, Ethan. You're the bravest person I know. Running into that church, saying what you did, I don't know if I could have done that." His words were a lifeline, but Ethan couldn't shake the weight of Robert's revelation. "What about what your dad said?" Ethan asked, his voice barely audible. "We're cousins, Liam. How do we even process that?" The word felt foreign, wrong, like it didn't belong to the bond they'd built over years of laughter and secrets. Liam shook his head, his eyes distant. "I don't know. It changes things, but it doesn't erase what we have." He paused, his gaze locking onto Ethan's. "I've always felt something for you. I didn't know what to call it, but it was there. Every time we were together, it was different." Ethan's heart skipped. Was Liam saying what he thought he was? Before he could ask, footsteps crunched behind them. Robert approached, his face etched with guilt. Margaret trailed behind, her eyes red but defiant. "We need to talk," Robert said, his voice heavy. "All of us." They moved to a nearby bench, the ocean's rhythm a stark contrast to the tension between them. Robert sat, his hands clasped tightly. "Ethan, your mother, me sister, Clara, she loved you fiercely. When she got pregnant, your father disappeared. She was alone, struggling. Margaret and I took her in, and when she passed away after you were born, we raised you as our own." Ethan's mind spun. He'd always known he was adopted, but the details had been vague, shrouded in half-truths. "Why didn't you tell me she was your sister?" he asked, his voice raw. "Why keep it a secret?" Margaret spoke up, her voice softer now. "We wanted you to feel like you belonged, Ethan. Not like you were an obligation. And we thought it would be easier for Liam if he didn't know you were his cousin. You two were so close. We didn't want to complicate things." "Complicate things?" Liam snapped, his anger flaring. "You let us grow up thinking we were just friends, when we were family." And now, he trailed off, glancing at Ethan, his eyes full of conflict. Ethan's chest ached. He wanted to reach for Liam, to bridge the gap between them, but the word cousin hung like a barrier. "What does this mean for us?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Robert sighed, his shoulders sagging. "I don't have all the answers. But you two need to decide what your relationship is now, knowing the truth. And Ethan, you need to know you're not alone. You're our family, no matter what." The words were meant to comfort, but they only deepened Ethan's turmoil. He looked at Liam, whose face mirrored his own confusion. The love he'd confessed was still there, burning bright, but now it was tangled in a web of family ties and unspoken questions. Could they ever go back to what they were? Or was something new, something impossible taking shape? The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and roses, but Ethan felt like he was drowning. He sat on the bench beside Liam, their shoulders inches apart, yet a chasm of unspoken words separated them. Robert and Margaret stood nearby, their presence a reminder of the secret that had upended everything. Liam broke the silence first, his voice low. "I need time to think. Ethan. It's a lot." He stood, his hands shoved into his pockets, and walked toward the shore. Ethan watched him go, his heart twisting. He wanted to follow, to demand answers, but his legs felt leaden. Margaret touched Ethan's shoulder, her touch tentative. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "We thought we were protecting you both." Ethan nodded, but her apology felt hollow. The truth had rewritten his entire life, and no amount of regret could undo that. Robert cleared his throat. "There's more you should know, Ethan. Your mother left a letter for you. We kept it, thinking we'd give it to you when you were older, but we never found the right time." He pulled a worn envelope from his jacket, its edges yellowed with age. Ethan's hands trembled as he took it, the weight of his mother's words heavier than he'd expected. He didn't open it right away. Instead, he clutched it tightly, his eyes drifting to Liam's silhouette against the waves. "Does he know about this?" Ethan asked, his voice hoarse. Robert shook his head. "No. We didn't tell him about the letter. It's for you." Ethan nodded, tucking the envelope into his jacket. He needed to be alone with his mother's words, to understand the woman who'd shaped him from beyond the grave. That evening, Ethan retreated to his small apartment overlooking the Santa Clara Pier. The letter sat on his kitchen table, a silent challenge. He poured a glass of whiskey, the burn grounding him as he finally tore open the envelope. His mother's handwriting was elegant, looping, filled with a warmth that made his chest ache. "My dearest Ethan, if you're reading this, you're old enough to know the truth. I loved you before you were born, and I love you still, wherever I am. Your father left us, but I never regretted you. You were my light. When I got sick, I asked Robert and Margaret to raise you, to give you the family I couldn't. I know they've kept secrets, but don't hate them. They're human, like me. I hope you found someone to share your heart with, someone who sees the beauty in you. Be brave, my son. Love fiercely, no matter what." Tears blurred Ethan's vision. His mother had known he'd face struggles, but she'd believed in him. He thought of Liam, of the love he'd confessed, and the impossible barrier of their shared blood. Could he be brave, as she'd asked, when the truth made his love feel like a betrayal? The next morning, Ethan found Liam at their old Haunta-weathered bench by the boardwalk where they'd spent countless summers. Liam looked exhausted, his eyes shadowed. "I couldn't sleep," he admitted, kicking at the sand. "I keep thinking about what you said, and what Dad told us." Ethan sat beside him, the letter burning a hole in his pocket. "I read my mom's letter," he said. "She wanted me to be brave, to love fiercely. But how can I? Liam, you're my cousin. It changes everything." Liam's jaw tightened. "It doesn't change how I feel about you. I've been trying to figure it out, Ethan. All those years, the way I felt when we were together, it wasn't just friendship. I was too scared to name it, but you were braver than me." He turned, his eyes searching Ethan's. I love you too. I think I always have. The words hit Ethan like a wave, pulling him under. He wanted to reach for Liam, to close the distance, but the weight of their family tie held him back. What do we do with this? He asked, his voice breaking. We can't just ignore it. Liam's hand brushed Ethan's, a fleeting touch that sent sparks through him. I don't know, Liam admitted. But I can't marry Sophia. Not now. Not when I'm feeling this. He paused, his voice softening. I called her last night. She's hurt, but she understands. She said she always knew there was something between us. Ethan's heart ached for Sophia, for Liam, for the impossible choice they faced. We need to talk to someone, he said. Someone who can help us figure out what this means. Liam nodded, his hand lingering near Ethan's. For the first time, Ethan felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The Santa Clara sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Ethan and Liam sat in a small cafe, the clink of coffee cups a soft backdrop to their tense conversation. They'd agreed to meet with Dr. Elena Martinez, a therapist recommended by a mutual friend, to navigate the tangled mess of their feelings and the family secret that bound them. Dr. Martinez was a warm woman with sharp eyes and a calming presence. This is a lot to process, she said after they'd poured out their story. Ethan's confession, the revelation of their kinship, Liam's canceled wedding. Let's start with how you're feeling right now. Ethan glanced at Liam, whose fingers tapped nervously on the table. I feel like I'm betraying everyone, Ethan said. Sophia, my mom's memory, even myself. I love Liam, but knowing we're cousins, it makes me question everything. Liam leaned forward, his voice raw. I feel the same. I love Ethan, but I don't know how to reconcile that with what we've learned. I keep thinking about all the years we spent together, not knowing. It's like our whole past is a lie. Dr. Martinez nodded, her expression empathetic. Your feelings are valid, and they're complex because you're grappling with both love and identity. First cousins can form deep emotional bonds, sometimes even romantic ones, because of shared history and proximity. What you're feeling isn't uncommon, but it's important to explore what it means for you both moving forward. Ethan's chest tightened. Is it wrong to feel this way? The question hung heavy, a fear he'd carried since the church. There's no simple answer, Dr. Martinez said. Love doesn't follow neat rules, but society and biology set boundaries. First cousin relationships are legal in many states, including California, but they come with social stigma and genetic considerations if children are involved. What matters is what you both want and whether you can live with the consequences. Liam's hand found Ethan's under the table, a quiet gesture of solidarity. I don't know what I want yet, Liam said. But I know I can't lose Ethan. He's been my anchor my whole life. Ethan's throat burned with unshed tears. I feel the same. But I don't want to hurt anyone else. Sophia's already been through enough. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. You're both showing incredible courage by facing this head-on. My suggestion is to take time separately and toga thirdo process. Explore your feelings without rushing to define them. And talk to your family. Their secrecy shaped this, and they need to be part of the conversation. That night, Ethan and Liam sat on the beach, the waves crashing under a starlit sky. Ethan pulled out his mother's letter again, reading it aloud to Liam. Her words: be brave, my son. Love fiercely felt like a guidepost, but one without a clear path. My mom would have loved you, Ethan said, his voice soft. She'd have seen how much you mean to me. Liam smiled, a sad, wistful curve of his lips. I wish I'd known her. And I wish I'd known you were my cousin. Maybe it would have changed things, or maybe it wouldn't. They sat in silence, the weight of their love and their kinship pressing down. Ethan wanted to lean into Liam, to let the world fall away, but he held back. They needed time, as Dr. Martinez had said, to understand what their love could be. The next day, they confronted Robert and Margaret again, this time in the family's cozy living room. The air was thick with tension, but Ethan spoke first. We need to know everything, he said. No more secrets. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. There's nothing else, she said. We kept the truth about Clara because we thought it would protect you. But we were wrong. I see that now. Robert nodded, his face weary. We love you both. We just want you to be happy. Whatever that looks like. Liam reached for Ethan's hand, a bold move in front of their parents. We're figuring it out, he said. But we need you to be honest with us from now on. The conversation stretched late into the night, peeling back layers of guilt and regret. Ethan felt a strange relief, not because the path was clear, but because they were finally facing it together. Months passed, and Santa Clara's vibrant summer faded into a crisp autumn. Ethan and Liam had spent the time apart, giving each other space to process. Ethan threw himself into his art, painting canvases that captured the turmoil and beauty of their story waves crashing, two figures reaching for each other under a fractured sky. Liam, meanwhile, worked at a local bookstore, finding solace in stories of love and redemption. They met weekly with Dr. Martinez, unpacking their feelings and the complexities of their bond. Ethan learned to name his love without shame, even as he grappled with its boundaries. Liam, too, grew more certain of his feelings, but he wrestled with the fear of societal judgment. One evening, as the sun set over the Pacific, Ethan and Liam walked the boardwalk, their steps in sync. I've been thinking, Liam said, his voice steady. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I love you, Ethan. Not just as family, but as you. I want to be with you, if you'll have me. Ethan's heart soared, but doubt lingered. What about the family thing? The stigma. We'd be walking into a storm. Liam stopped, turning to face him. I know. But I'd rather face that storm with you than live a lie without you. We can move somewhere new. Start fresh. We can build a life together, if that's what you want. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of hope. He thought of his mother's letter, her call to love fiercely. I want that, he said, his voice breaking. I want you. They kissed under the fading light, a tentative, electric promise of what could be. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still conversations to have, judgments to face, and a future to navigate. But it was theirs. Sophia, now a friend to both, had moved on, finding love with a kind musician who shared her passion for life. She sent Ethan a letter, her words full of grace. You gave me the truth, and it set me free. Be happy, Ethan. You deserve it. Robert and Margaret, though hesitant at first, began to accept their choice, their love for their sons outweighing their fears. The family wasn't whole yet, but it was healing, stitch by stitch. Ethan and Liam decided to leave Santa Clara, settling in a small town in Oregon where they could build a life free from the weight of their past. Ethan opened an art studio, his paintings drawing crowds who saw the raw emotion in every stroke. Liam wrote poetry, his words a quiet tribute to their journey. Their love wasn't easy, but it was real. They faced whispers and raised eyebrows, but they also found allies, friends who saw their bond as a testament to courage. Ethan kept his mother's letter framed on their wall, a reminder to be brave, to love fiercely. In the end, Ethan's confession hadn't just stopped a wedding or revealed a family secret. It had rewritten their story, giving them a chance to live authentically, together. And as they stood hand in hand, watching the Oregon waves crash, Ethan knew they'd found something worth fighting for, a love that defied boundaries, a family redefined by truth.